Why are you such a coward in the face of an obvious fascist takeover, Andrew? Ooh, scary. That's scary. Gentlemen, all of us together, no matter where we stand on the political spectrum, together we are in debt at $36 trillion. $36 trillion is no laughing matter. This is something that should pull all of us together as Americans, because Americans have been defrauded for decades. And that's a crime against you, the American people, that has been committed against you by our government. And this is not anything to protest against. This isn't anything to be angry about, but stopping your money from being stolen by criminals all around the world, think about this, dead people's social security numbers being used to get your money. This is something that we should all fight against. And I think it's extremely important. I'm proud to say that as chair of the DOGE committee. Now, let's talk about how this has affected our economy. Kayla, you can pull the next slide. So just recently, you were told that President Trump is crashing the market with tariffs. That is absolutely not true. The media and the Democrat Party will try to fool you and think that President Trump is hurting America. He's actually defending America. And for the first time, we have a president that is saying he's going to level the people, American companies, and the American world, because you're and as we're told to panic as the stock market went down for a few days, no one told you to panic during Joe Biden's presidency when the stock market went down. As a matter of fact, they ignored all of that. So it's extremely important to understand President Trump is using courage, bravery, standing up to every single country across the world, and that's the level the playing field in America. And I know that we will be longer. Now, what's actually happening? President Trump has been in office now for less than 3 months. He took office on January 20th. We aren't even 3 full months into President Trump's presidency, into his administration. We aren't even 3 full months into Republicans controlling the House and the Senate. And the economy is already improving. This is the real economy. When you're seeing inflation going down by 2.4%, you're seeing energy going down by 20%. Eggs are down by 59%, and chickens are not being killed all over the country. You're seeing gas down at 59%. Airfare is down at 9%, and jobs are up by 228,000. This is the real economy, ladies and gentlemen, that affects you every single day in your life, and it's only been less than 3 months. We look forward to seeing more of this. Now, this is one of the things that I think is absolutely shocking and shameful. DOGE has marked now 9.9 million dead people. They are now marked deceased. 9.9 million people of the age 120 and older had Social Security numbers. This should anger you. This should upset you. As we talk about Social Security, we are protecting Social Security. We are not cutting Social Security. But what we're doing is we're getting rid of the criminals and the fraudsters that are using these Social Security numbers to steal your money. And I think this is one of the best things that we are seeing happen. I don't know about you. Yes. about you guys. I don't know anyone 120 years old. We'll go to the next one. Thank you, Kayla. Kelly, you're doing a great job there.
Well, I got to sue President Trump. He's been in office less than a month. I said from day one in your show, Sean, he's a game changer. He proves to the American people every day why I consider him the greatest president of my lifetime. No one's had success like this. But I said it. I'm happy the numbers are up. I'm happy with the results so far. I am not satisfied. I will not be satisfied until every gang member, every illegal alien gang member, every illegal alien public safety threat and national security threat to eradicate in this country. So we're expanding the amount of teams now. We got Pam Bondi suing the sanctuary cities. We got Christy Noem on now. She's been out the border patrol. She's been out ICE and more enforcement operations in a week than my organization has done in 4 years. Our team's coming together. The architects team, we're all working together to increase those numbers until we can eradicate once and for all every illegal gang member and public safety threat and national security threat in this country. It's all on, puts on the gas, and God bless President Trump for giving us the authorities, the resources to do this job. It's his vision, and it's all possible.
And because of the great work of Tom Homan and Christy Noem, look at these border statistics here. This is all because of President Trump, his agenda, and what he has put his team to work to do. The great men and women of ICE, the great men and women of Border Patrol, they are making America safe. These statistics are undeniable. Look at that, March of 2024. I serve on the Homeland Security Committee, and what we have seen over the past 4 years is astounding. March of 2024, 107,473 crossings in 1 month. Here we are 1 year later in March of 2025, we've got 7,181, a decrease of 95%. That's the difference in an election. You know, Democrats under the Biden administration and Secretary of New York would tell us they needed more money and they needed more resources. And that was always a lie. What they needed to do was actually care about this country and secure the border because they had the means to do it then. And I praise President Trump and thank Tom Homan and Christy Noem for doing this important work because I want to tell you something. I have talked to too many parents who have lost their children to illegal alien crime, murder, and fentanyl and other drugs coming across our border. This should never happen to any American, and they are doing a great job of securing our border. So we're so thankful for them. And Congress is riding alongside of them. Now, we all know the name Laken Riley. This was a young lady that never wanted her name famous, not the way that it is famous. The man that murdered Laken Riley was an illegal alien that came across our border, was released into the interior of the United States, made his way to New York, committed crime in New York, was arrested, and they refused to prosecute him. They released him back to the streets where he traveled his way down to Georgia and made it to Athens. This is where he murdered Laken Riley, a beautiful young woman that was just starting out as a young adult, enjoying her time at UGA, and I can only imagine because I myself am a UGA graduate. And this young lady was brutally murdered. She fought for her life. I know the details of her death. She fought, but she lost her life to a criminal, an animal, a murderer that should have never been in our country. And because of the Biden administration, she's dead today. Well, I'm proud to let you know in the House we passed that bill, the Laken Riley Act. Kayla, go ahead.
Well, I certainly hope we do open as many prisons as possible to round up as many illegal aliens that have invaded our country and those that are breaking our laws, killing our citizens, women and children, and causing complete havoc across our great land. I support the Laken Riley Act, and I support the Laken Riley Act because Laken Riley should be alive today. And she would be alive today if it hadn't been for the Democrats and the Biden administration that ripped our border open and allowed this illegal alien monster to come into our country. And then in the state of New York, when this monster was arrested for committing crimes, the Democrat state of New York let him go. And that's how he came down to Georgia and murdered our Laken Riley. This is a bill that cannot get passed enough, and I'm so thankful that the American people overwhelmingly voted for Donald Trump so that we can sign this bill into law, and it can't happen fast enough. Thank God. But listening to my colleagues, the Democrats on the other side of the aisle, complain and whine and defend illegal aliens that break the law the minute they cross our border is pathetic. The American people are so sick and tired of it. They cannot believe what our country has gone through. And it is enough. It is absolutely enough. But they will go on and on to defend
an illegal alien that is a member of MS-13 that was deported to his home country, El Salvador. That is shameful, and that should never happen. What is wrong with our American media that they aren't defending Americans? That's the only people they should be defending. Bye-bye. Yeah, bye. Just like that illegal alien. Bye. Alrighty, let's talk about some great work we're doing. As the chair of the DOJ committee, we've had a lot of great hearings. The first hearing was on Medicare. Guess what? No one is taking away anyone's Medicare. That's a lie that is being told by the Democrats, and unfortunately the media is helping them tell it. No one is losing Medicare. No one is losing Social Security. No one's benefits are being taken away. And I can tell you for a fact, no one has lost their Social Security or Medicare. I have checked with these agencies that no one has lost it. This is a fear that is being spread, and it shouldn't be spread. Here's what is happening. We are stopping fraud. We are stopping waste. We are stopping people from stealing your money, stealing benefits. That was the first hearing. The second hearing that we did, I'm going to let a little video play if it works. We're having a little trouble here. This is the hearing on USAID.
What we have learned here today is that USAID has been used as a tool by Democrats to brainwash the world with globalist propaganda to force regime changes around the world. But if USAID funded terrorism that resulted in the death of Americans, then this committee will be making criminal referrals. Lastly, if this is the funding that has come from the USAID, the United States Agency for International Development needs to be abolished.
Now, USAID is going to be abolished. And thanks to President Trump and thanks to his administration for that great work. Thanks to Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, it will be abolished. You see, USAID is not aid. It's not aid. It's been used and abused, and this money has gone into places it should have never gone to. And so we're thankful to know that that is going to be a big part of the rescission package that the White House is going to be recommending. We can't wait to get to work on that. Now, the hearing I'd like to talk about was NPR and PBS. And as chair of the DOJ, we looked into NPR and PBS. And we had them come before us in our committee as witnesses. And we can go ahead and play that clip, Kayla.
The Corporation for Public Broadcasting is using taxpayer dollars to actively suppress the truth, suppress diverse viewpoints, and produce some of the most outlandish, ludicrous content. After listening to what we've heard today, we will be calling for the complete and total defund and dismantling of the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Here's how it works in America every single day, private businesses operate on their own without government funding. We believe that you all can hate us on your own dime.
You can hate us on your own dime, but the American people don't have to pay for it. Another thing I'd like to talk about is something that is very important piece of legislation that I'm working on called Protect Children's Innocence Act. This is a bill that will criminalize sex changes in children. Go ahead and play that clip, Kayla.
And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie. And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you.
This is a fundamental truth. This is fundamental. God made us in his image, male and female. We are made. This is a basic founding of who we are. Children have to be left alone. They have to grow up. And my bill, the Protect Innocence Act, will criminalize sex changes on children, hormone therapies, all the drugs being used on these kids. Think about it. These kids aren't old enough to get a tattoo. They aren't old enough to buy cigarettes, alcohol, join the military. Some of these kids aren't even old enough to get a driver's license and drive a car. There should be no way that any adult is brainwashing a child with a lie, and it is a lie. I want you to think about this. The Biden administration declared Trans Visibility Day on Easter. On Easter. This year, President Trump is celebrating Holy Week, and we will be celebrating the real meaning of Easter, the resurrection of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. This is a war of good versus evil, and when they are going after our kids, you better bet that we will stand up and not let you come after our kids. This was one of the biggest in the election. It's across the aisle. It's a more than 80% issue. More than 80%. Democrats and Republicans agree that we got to protect our kids. And for long enough, that lie has been told. And it's disgusting. It's repulsive. Look, adults can do whatever they want, but leave our kids alone. Now, I want to talk to you. You've got a packet of information that has a lot of details. And instead of me going through it all, I'm not going to waste our time doing that. Before I wrap up, I want to talk about what happened in the past 4 years under the Biden administration that should have never happened. The government was weaponized against the American people. And after January 6th, many people were arrested. Now, I want you to know, serving in Congress, I have not watched the pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian, pro-Gaza protesters. I have not watched them be prosecuted like the DOJ went after January 6th protesters. So I want to thank President Trump. I want to thank President Trump for what he did for January 6th defendants. Kayla, you can go ahead and pull that up. The J6 pardons were answer to prayers, and the pro-lifers too. Biden's DOJ went after people that peacefully protested abortions, and he pardoned them as well. And he said it was an easy one. That was a note, a personal note to me with President Trump. So I wanted to share that with you. In our country is being returned to law and order. That's right. Under the last administration, the scales had fallen off. It was completely tipped the wrong way. And this administration is dedicated to removing the real criminals, which are the cartels. These are terrorists that came across our border. Terrorists came across our border, are here within the United States. I had a great meeting with Homeland Security yesterday in my office in Dalton. And I can't tell you, I was overjoyed at what he was telling me is happening. Now, you're not seeing this on the news, I wish you were, and maybe we will see more of it. But because of Secretary Homan, Tom Homan's incredible work and all the people that are working with them, there's a completely different approach. He told me these agencies are working together like he's never seen before in over decades of his career. FBI, ATF, Border Patrol, ICE, and many local law enforcement, all the way from county and states, all across the country are working together to track down illegal alien criminals, cartels, and terrorists that are not just living at the border. Ladies and gentlemen, they're all inside the interior of the United States.
How about the KKK?
All inside the interior of the United States. You can head out. The protest is outside. Thank you very much. Protest is outside. Protest is outside. Bye. Have fun out there. City of Ackworth is doing a great job. They have an area for protest outside. Thank you. And we're having a good time on the inside. Thank you. And here's what else I want to tell you about. As we've gone through these issues, here's some important work that my office can do for you. Now, in my district office, I love these ladies. I think they are incredible. And they're sitting over here at this table. Yeah, Mike Cameron's pointing them. Wave at everybody. There you go. Now, this is our constituent services work. This is the most important work that my office does for our district. And I'm so proud to brag on them. They can help you with tax problems you have, Social Security, Medicare, any problem, veteran issues. They work all of the cases. And let me tell you guys, they do a great job. They do such a great job that our office gets calls from all over the country from people begging them to take their cases. But we can't take cases from across the country. We only take your cases. And we serve all of you. So if you have any issues tonight, please make your way over to the table. They are there. They are ready. They're staying here the whole time so that they can help anyone with any specific issues. So I just wanted to let you know that's available to you. And now just to get into it, I think I'd rather take your questions. And they gave me a full list here of the questions that we've got. So we'll go ahead and start with the first one. How can we stop rogue judges? That's a very important question. We just passed a bill in the House that addresses this very issue and reins in rogue judges from being able to completely undo the will of the American people. Now, when you, the American people, elected President Trump, and he is following through on the agenda that he promised you. But when a single judge comes in and uses the power of his bench and rules against the president's agenda, he's ruling against the American people. And so we passed that bill in the House to stop judges from doing that, and we look forward to seeing it go through the Senate and making it to President Trump's desk. This is a good question, Cindy. Will members of Congress who took taxpayer dollars through NGOs and other illegal means be held accountable and charged with crimes? I think NGOs are so interesting. As a matter of fact, my team on the DOJ committee and the oversight staff, we are heavily investigating NGOs. And I'll be holding a hearing on our investigation into NGOs and look forward to having some great witnesses that come before us. Now, if there is true evidence of members of Congress or their family receiving money directly from NGOs, I look forward to sending criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Great question. When will we start seeing voting on legislation to support President Trump's executive orders? Irvin, thank you for that question. I can tell you, not soon enough. I wish we were passing them every single week. That's something that I've expressed to our leadership, is we want to see those bills coming, but I have some really good news for you. I have several bills that actually are President Trump's executive orders. One of them is the Gulf of America Act. And that will be coming to the House floor actually really soon. So we're looking forward to that. Protect Children's Innocence Act is another one of President Trump's executive orders. He's serious about protecting children from the trans agenda. We also have one more, before I get to the next question, is we have the Make English the official language of the United States. Yes. It's a no-brainer. Over 170 countries around the world have an official language. America should have one too, and that's English. Okay. Oh, yep. Why is MTG supporting Musk and Doge and the slashing of Medicaid, Social Security offices, libraries, and more? This is outrageous, from Sarah. Well, Sarah, unfortunately, you're being brainwashed by the news that you're watching. And, you know, a lot of Democrats pride themselves on being educated, and I suggest they educate themselves better. Because I showed you a video in the beginning. I wish you could have seen the whole clip of Barack Obama literally talking about what we call today Doge. And so, Sarah, if you supported Barack Obama as your president, which I'm sure you did, then I'm sure you support Elon Musk and Doge as well. Now, as far as Medicaid, Social Security, libraries, and more, what we're doing is we're removing waste, fraud, and abuse, and there's nothing more important we can do for you as Americans to protect your Social Security than get rid of the criminals that are stealing it. We have to make sure that we protect Social Security. We're not cutting Social Security. We're not cutting Medicare. This is a promise from President Trump and Republicans like myself on the campaign trail, and we will live up to that promise, and no one has lost their benefits. When is the House going to get the tax cuts bill finished so the Senate can pass it too, so Trump can sign it? This is more important than any other issue at this time. Thank you, Melanie. Melanie, I fully agree with you. I think we've got to get the tax bill and the law passed as soon as possible. So before Congress, I was a business owner, and this is my 5th year in Congress that I just started. So that was just a little more than 4 years ago. Business owners, regular Americans are not able to plan until we have a tax law that they know they can count on and they know is not going to change on them. So Congress, we're supposed to be working on that tax law in May, and I look forward to getting that done as soon as possible. I also stand by President Trump's campaign promises of no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, and no tax on overtime. I'm also a co-sponsor of the fair tax, so if it were up to me, I would really put that tax law in the paper shredder. All right, let's see, what do we have now? How is Congress working to make Doge cuts permanent from Rich? We will be doing that mostly in our reconciliation bill, and a lot of that will happen in the month of May. Hopefully we get that done quickly. That is also going to be about border, energy, and the tax law. As the chair of Doge Committee, I can tell you guys, I want all the Doge cuts permanent. I want to save you as much money as possible and reduce the scope and size of the federal government. And on that note, I have to give President Trump a lot of credit. He, more than anyone else, is reducing the size and scope of the federal government. And so this is a really good thing. What plan do you have to continue to grow the MAGA movement after Trump? From Marcus. Well, Marcus, you know what? I think MAGA is already on its way. It's not anything I have to do. MAGA proved that this movement is not only just a movement, it is the American people. Because the American people overwhelmingly voted for MAGA in November of 2024. That's exactly what the American people voted for. So I'd say it's up to the American people to make sure we keep it going. Do you think President Trump will lose support from voters who are not willing to wait and see the end results of the tariffs? In other words, know that the tariffs will give him bargaining power and in the end more business and jobs back in America. But some seem to be frightened of his aggressive moves. Sandra, that's a very good thought, but I'm going to tell you right now, don't be a panicking. That's a new word President Trump came up with. You see, look, it took us decades to get here. Decades to get to $36 trillion in debt. It took decades for our factories to shut down and our jobs sent overseas. It took decades for us to all fall into this terrible, it's basically a grave that America has been put in and dug by our federal government. So I support President Trump so much. And you know who he's standing up against? China. That is exactly who he's standing up against. China has stolen our intellectual property. China has stolen so much of our trade. China has spied on the United States and Americans. And President Trump is standing up for us and American companies, and he is stopping it. I don't know about you guys. I don't want a war with China, but we can beat them economically. And that's exactly what President Trump's doing. Do you see an even role for Doge at the federal and state level, Larry? Absolutely. I think reducing waste, fraud, and abuse should be in every part of government. Yeah, it should. And I encourage you all to push to make that happen. Oh, and I think it is happening in Georgia. I've heard there's over 70 counties that are creating Doge groups. So I think it's already on its way. What are you doing to reduce national debt, not just slow its growth, Patricia? Patricia, this is a great question. So reducing our national debt is going to happen in multiple ways. Here's how it's working. President Trump is growing our economy. I think he has around $7 trillion of commitments from companies that are bringing that money, $7 trillion into our economy by bringing their companies here, manufacturing and creating jobs. Another way that we can do that is, of course, reduce the size and scope of the federal government. President Trump is already starting that by getting rid of the Department of Education, getting rid of USAID, NPR, PBS, and many other waste and fraud. He's also cutting contracts, useless contracts, things that you all would never pay for yourself if you knew what they were. And also stopping ridiculous grants funding things that we should never fund, not just here in America, but in countries all over the world. So that's a part of reducing the spending. But it's very important not only to reduce spending, but to grow our economy. And that's how we can rein in national debt. What are you doing to protect us in the 14th district from the damage and extreme hardship of Trump's tariffs? Of Social Security and Medicaid. Wow. Doge gutting our government with a chainsaw approach and utter destruction and ignoring of our Constitution and rule of law. He is not well physically or mentally, and he's making nonsensical orders based on his whim of the day. How are you going to rein him in to protect us? Oh, poor Christina. Poor Christina. Well, I'm sure, Christina, you think that you're pretty smart, but the reality is you are being completely brainwashed by whatever source of news you listen to. The facts are this: no one has lost their Social Security. No one has lost their benefits. Criminals have lost it, yes. Fraudsters have lost it, yes. And illegal aliens have lost it, yep. And if you want to defend those people where you hate our country and you hate America, what am I going to do? I am going to stand by my president. I am going to support my president. And I am going to fight for his agenda with everything I have in Congress. And that's what I'm going to do for you, because I know in fact you are going to have more money in your pocket. You're going to have more jobs available. You're going to have a stronger economy, and you're going to have safe cities and communities to live in, and you'll be safe from terrorists, cartels, and criminals. And God bless President Trump for that. Trump's pledge for no income tax on Social Security be part of the final reconciliation this year. I think this is extremely important. Your money in Social Security has been taxed. It should have never been taxed. I don't know how we got in this place, but it must be undone. Senior citizens have suffered more than any group that I talked to. It's been tragic and heartbreaking talking to many seniors over the past 4 years, because many of them I talked to could hardly pay their rent, had to choose between medication and groceries, told me how they couldn't afford to buy gifts for their grandchildren because they had to figure out how to afford to pay rent and figure out how to live. This is a tragedy, and because of inflation brought on this country from the Biden administration, and I'll add onto this, reckless spending for decades by both Republicans and Democrats. I'm going to say both. Inflation has gotten to a point where life is unaffordable and people's Social Security is hardly a drop in the bucket. It shouldn't ever be that way. It shouldn't be that way. When can arrests start being made for elected politicians who have committed acts of treason? Glenda. Okay, your people are ready to round them up. Well, sadly, they don't let me arrest anybody, guys. I just have a voting card. I can do legislation, and I can hold hearings. Members of Congress, we don't have that power, but our Department of Justice does. And if there is evidence of politicians or anyone committing such crimes, then I'm sure that President Trump's Department of Justice will follow through. What can Congress do to rein in the hate and lies of elected officials who are spewing that endanger the lives of innocent people? Rep. Crockett is one example. Those inciting the vandalism and domestic terrorism against Tesla and Tesla owners are another example. Kathleen, thank you for that question. And I first want to start with recognizing Governor Shapiro and his family and say that I truly pray for them. And it was shocking to see that attack of arson on the governor's mansion. And I completely denounce that type of political violence. I denounce all political violence. Now, I can tell you that because I also live in a place where I am one of the members of Congress that usually has the highest amount of death threats. As a matter of fact, there's an active death threat that Capitol Police have been dealing with on me, but this is a routine thing that happens. And Capitol Police does a great job. So does the FBI, and so does all of my local law enforcement. I'm very thankful for them. Now, so I can't control anyone else that I serve with in Congress, but I can tell you my stance is no one should be calling and threatening our staff. I don't care, Democrats or Republicans. No one should be cussing at them, telling them kill them because my staff gets death threats too. Saying, you know, when I get them, and that just shouldn't happen. And again, I'll just say this: we have bigger problems in America. We really do. Problems that should bring us together as Americans and not divide us to the point where they're talking about killing people. Let's just remember this: that it has not been a year. It hasn't been a year since President Trump was shot in Butler, Pennsylvania, almost assassinated on the world stage for everyone to see. Hasn't even been a year. I would hope, and you know, here's another thing that I can't let go, is the poll that I saw where over half of Democrats support assassinating President Trump. That is absolutely disgusting and shameful. And if it doesn't matter who the president is, no one should support assassinating the president. You know what you do? You vote. You want to change your leaders, you vote. And that's how America should handle it. Why do you support a president adding the largest tax on people ever through executive orders with tariffs? Samira, inflation is coming down, gas is coming down, airline tickets are coming down, your energy costs are coming down, the price of eggs are coming down because Democrats are not killing them all over the country. The reality is tariffs are not a massive tax on the American people. The tax on the American people that you've been suffering with is the inflation that Biden Democrats put on the American people from their absolute reckless spending for the past 4 years. How do they get rid of in a practical way? Kathleen, great question. Well, we've been discussing that, cutting spending, growing our economy, and guys, this isn't going to happen in 2 years, and it isn't going to happen in 4 years, probably 6 years. I think this has to be steady work by every single Congress and every single administration. Here's what I'm counting on you all, the American people, to make sure that not only myself, but all leaders know that this is a top issue for you and hold us accountable for that. Does Representative Greene in Texas outline how impeachment works? I watched the Democratic Congress members spouting rhetoric all weekend about Trump. Yet these voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, Green New Deal scam, but contributed to an approximate 16 to 18% cumulative inflation under Biden. How do we get this message out? Ruth, you just I think your question speaks for itself. Thank you for that. A lot of chaos and short-term pain with these new initiatives. How do we navigate them for this election, Carrie? I think this is something that the American people understand better than anybody. You know, working in Washington, D.C. is like going to a foreign country. It's like a bubble. But when you come out to America, everybody understands this. That, you know, when your household is in debt, your credit cards are maxed out, you have to let go of the fun things you like to spend money on. For me, I'm like, dang, I can't order things online or go out to eat as much as I want. I have to rein in my spending. But this is what American families know how to do. They sit at their kitchen table and they pull out their budget. They look at their credit card statements. They look at their checking account statements, and they go through spending and go line by line and say, I can't afford to pay for this anymore. I got to drop my Netflix. I got to drop this. I got to drop that. And that's what the American people know how to do. And so, in my opinion, because all my friends and family are normal people, the people that I like to spend my time with are normal people that understand this. I don't think the American people are the problems, the patience that it's going to take. I think the American people have the patience and desperately want us to fix the problem. So actually, I think you guys get it probably more than Washington does. And I think you're more committed maybe than many of my colleagues. And that I have a lot of respect for you guys for. And I thank you for that. But I'm committed to it. Because our kids, my children, they're not going to have a future. Your children, your grandchildren, what kind of future are they going to have if we don't, in our time, fix these problems? Why are you such a coward in the face of an obvious fascist takeover, Andrew? Ooh, scary. That's scary. You know, I've yet to see a fascist gathering. That doesn't exist in the Republican Party. As a matter of fact, President Trump is the most transparent president in history. The man literally talks to the press every single day. It's amazing. Not only that, he takes them on Air Force One and takes them to UFC fights. He talks to them and gaggles on the plane. He talks to them all the time. This is such an amazing thing that happened. You know, well, the Associated Press shouldn't have told as many lies as they did about President Trump. And President Trump has been lied about by Democrats, has been lied about by the press. I mean, Russia collusion, come on. I haven't seen the press apologize for that. And many people, unfortunately, are still brainwashed on those lies. You know the real problem that happened in America? The real problem was this. Can you imagine that every Democrat you know voted for Kamala Harris in the general election, but they didn't complain about the fact that they couldn't vote for her in the primary, that the Democrat Party didn't allow a primary? You talk about fascism. Think about that. Not really a question, but maybe a mention of the fact that people did not disrupt a Democrat town hall. How about that? Yeah, that's right. And certainly not require the meeting place be held at a time due to security concerns. And that's something I do believe the moderate Dems would fully agree with what I just wrote. I hope so. Thank you for all you do, Marjorie. You are a strong, important voice for sanity. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. Thank you. I just want to say thank you for deporting the illegals. I lost my daughter, Peyton, to Forever 27 in December 2021. She was not an addict. She was a beautiful girl who made a mistake. Our children should not die from one mistake. Thank you for slowing the flow of fentanyl into the country, Jennifer. Jennifer, I don't know if I hope you're in here, but I'm sorry for the loss of your daughter. And I think that your statement, your words right here speak volumes. And I want to tell you that it was for moms like you, moms and dads like you, that I led the effort to impeach Secretary Mayorkas last Congress. And it's because of moms and dads like you and your precious children that should have never died from fentanyl overdoses. And like you said, they made a mistake. And President Trump is committed. He is committed. Oh, you want to know a big fight on the tariffs for Mexico and Canada? It's because he's sick and tired of our people being poisoned with fentanyl. President Trump has been very hard on Mexico and Canada both because fentanyl flows through both of those borders, and it's for families like yours. And so, Jennifer, all of us in this room, we stand with you. We share your grief, and we're so sorry. We're so sorry, but we are fixing this problem. And thank you. Thank you for your question and statement. What benefits have you brought to the farmers in your district with your support of the Trump administration's inflationary tariff-based economic policy? Nathan. Well, Nathan, I got to tell you, I talked to a lot of farmers. You know, I'm really, tariffs help our farmers. You know, our farmers have a very difficult time selling the food that they produce because they can't compete with foreign countries. Foreign countries are shipping in food and meat from all over the world much cheaper than our farmers are able to produce food and sell it here in the United States. Listen, food, the fact that we can produce food is national security for our country, and President Trump's tariffs are going to make sure that we have national security for food in America. Will President Trump be dismantling the IRS? I certainly hope so, Lee. That's a great question. What businesses would you like to see come to District 14, Shannon? Well, you know, as a representative, I don't pick and choose the businesses, but the businesses I think are so important in the district are the ones that exist there. And I think as my role as your representative, the work that I do in Washington has to support your ability to run your business and grow your business. And that's what I'm committed to do. All right, that wrapped it up. This is fantastic. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you again for coming out tonight. And I want to thank you for your support. And I also am so excited. Thank you to the City of Backworth. I'm thrilled to have this part in my district. We've had great meetings today and look forward to working with everyone. And also, I'll say this. I know one thing about Georgia 14. Georgia 14 is not going to be intimidated by funded Democrat protests and by people that came in that aren't from our district.